Quite often you will want a function to return a value that you can work with. For example, you might want one function to do a calculation on a statement, and then use the answer returned from that function in another function. The return statement accomplishes this while also stopping the execution of the code within the function. You can think of it as the function achieving what it needed to achieve, for example arriving at the answer, then terminating the execution of any further code in the function, and then returning the answer to the code that initiated the function. So don't be too confused by this at this stage. We'll have a look at a practical example shortly to explain what the return statement does. Let's quickly have a look at the basic syntax. You would define your function in the normal way, and then within the curly braces where you place your code, you would also include the return statement, which is the word return followed by the variable or the value that you would like to return. This could also be a constant, but in this case we actually want the function to do a calculation on some values, which will then give us an answer to something. And then the return statement will return the answer that was then stored within that variable. So let's have a look at a practical example. In this example, we'll create a function into which we'll pass two integer variables. The function is then going to perform a simple addition calculation on those two integers, and it's then going to return the answer in the form of a return statement. So we'll start off with our opening and closing PHP tags. Then we define our function. We'll just call our function addition, parentheses, and opening and closing curly braces. So we said we're going to pass two variables, and in order to do that, you'll just separate the variables by means of a comma. We'll call it variable x and variable y. Then we'll create the variable answer, and answer will then be equal to x plus variable y. And then we need to return the answer by means of the return statement. Alright, so our function is defined. Then you'll notice in this function that we don't have an echo statement. So when this function is called, it's not actually going to print anything onto the screen because we haven't told PHP to echo anything. So we need to echo the function onto the screen in our function call. So we'll use the echo statement. Then we'll call the addition function, parentheses, and now we need to pass two values into the function. So let's say 4 and 5. We can hit save. We'll head over to our browser. Functions returning values. And then we can see the sum of 4 and 5 will give us 9. Let's go back to our code. We can then add two different values. Let's say 10 and 25. We'll hit save. Let's go back to our browser. We'll hit refresh. And there we go. We get the answer 35. Let's go to our code. So basically what's happening is we are passing two values to the function addition, which are then the values of the variables x and y. The function then performs a calculation on these two variables that we have passed into the function, and this is then returned to us by means of the return statement. So each time we pass any value into this function, it will then return an answer to us. Remember that because we don't have an echo statement in our function, we actually need to use the echo statement when calling the function so that it actually prints something out onto the screen.